Alright, guys. So, today I wanted to talk about the fracture mechanic, and I want to show you guys how bad this is. A lot of people like to clown on Rex players for being bad at the game just because we don't have instant bone break, and we don't like that we don't have instant bone break. And you think that we don't need it. Fracture's good enough, right? Well, I've got my friend here on Analysaurus, and I am a max fracture builder X. Max fracture, right? I hit him with a fracture bite, and he's going to start running. Watch this. And he's going to tail attack as well. See, even if I am slightly able to catch up to him, that fracture's wearing off, and he can tail attack me, and I cannot hit him with another one. That's how bad it is. That is genuinely how bad it is. If I'm in a fight with an Allosaurus, and I hit it with a crushing bite, it could still outrun me. Sure, I'm able to catch up a little bit, because Allosaurus is one of the slower subapex dinosaurs. Yes, I do mean subapex. Because if I go heal my stamina, and then I heal him, and we try this again, except he's actually going to be more active with those tail attacks. Hit him with a fracture. I'm chasing him. He can just hit me with tail attacks constantly. And I can't catch up to him. He's just going to outrun me constantly. Even though I hit him with a crushing bite, there's nothing I can do. The only way I would be able to bypass that is if I were running ambush, the surprise attack ability. If I am attacked by a group of allos, there is nothing I can do. If I fracture it, I have to hope that he's low on stamina, because that is the only way I'll be able to catch up to him and kill him. And we could test this on a number of different dinosaurs. I figured Allo would probably be the best, considering Allo is now a lot better at hunting bigger things. It can still do bleed, it just does less of it, and it does more damage now. So packs of Allos are going to be a lot more dangerous now. And yeah, they can still outrun a T-Rex even when their legs are broken. This applies to plenty of dinosaurs. Now, things like Suchomimus and Amargasaurus, not so much, because they are slower. They're bigger, heavier subapex dinosaurs. But they're usually not alone, especially on official servers. On official servers, you're most likely outnumbered. If you're playing as a solo Rex on official servers, you are likely going to die. But yeah, I just wanted to prove that with this short video here. That is why in my Rex video, I said that Rex should do instant bone break with crushing bite onto smaller dinosaurs like an Allosaurus. Like if I was to hit that, that should do instant bone break. But it doesn't. He can still run it off. Now, Rex isn't the only thing that suffers from these fracture changes. A fracture build Dasp is basically useless nowadays. And there's usefulness for them in a group, I guess, but a solo Dasp using fracture is a good way to get yourself killed. Now, I fight an Allo with a damage build and a couple fracture builds just to prove this, and the results are self-explanatory. And I think Dasp's fracture abilities need a damage buff. Now that I have effectively demonstrated how Fracture is kind of a detriment to these dinosaurs, I have a really cool solution that I think you guys are going to like, and this has nothing to do with anything I said in my previous Rex video. Honestly, this is more just about the Fracture mechanic and not just about Rex, because it doesn't hurt just Rex players. I mean, an argument can be made that it hurts Cerato players, but honestly, if Cerato's use that in a group, that's fine. And solo Cerato, just use Swerve. Swerve's just so much better, and it's a lot more. It helps you more survivability-wise, and it makes more sense for solo Cerato to use. Most of the time, you're not going to be able to hit a Fracture, because a lot of stuff you're going to be fighting is pretty quick. So you need to be able to get some good damage with your bites in pretty quickly, especially if you're fighting something like a Packy. Your Bone Snap or Crushing Bite, Charge Bite, whatever Cerato's version is called, isn't going to be as effective there. That's meant more for groups. Now, for the Tyrannosaurids, who are, supposed to be heavily centered around this mechanic, they struggle more with it. Like, Dasp is forced to use its Bone Snap in a group, and it's made slower if it wants to use it, which is really stupid. It's really, really stupid that they have that, where it makes you 5% slower. That's such a dumb idea. Like, I never understood that. Never understood that. I mean, it already weighs less than Aloe and Suko. I mean, sure, it weighs more than Pycno, but it's like, it weighs less than Aloe and Suko, the two other sub-apexes that it's usually going to be fighting pretty consistently. Dasps don't usually go after Pycnos just because of how annoying their knockback is to deal with and how fast they are. And they shouldn't really be going after other carnivores anyway. They should be going after things like Lambio, Iggies, Amargas, things like that. But with how my idea is structured, I don't think that my idea should apply to Cerato and Anno, because it would probably make them really OP. And their Fracture mechanic works just fine as it is. So I'd say give Dasp and Rex a separate Fracture mechanic, which honestly I think is a pretty interesting idea considering they're Tyrannosaurids. So you could call it something special to deal with Tyrannosaurids, and you could even give it to Alio in some capacity with its TLC. But yeah, here goes. So let's say, hypothetically speaking, you get your legs fractured by either a Dasp or a Rex through either Bone Snap, Fracture, Crushing Bite, Shatter, whatever else. Doesn't matter. You got hit by some Fracture. Not instant bone break, just Fracture. Like you've been fractured. Well, the Fracture mechanic will work similarly to how it already does. Except the more you move, the worse it gets. So if a Rex hits you with a Crushing Bite after it's ambushed, let's say that the Aloe that I ambushed, attacked in my demonstration earlier. I hit him with a Crushing Bite, and he uses his tail attacks and everything, and he's running away from me. The more he runs, the more that Fracture gets worse. The percentage goes up and up and up and up. And if he keeps running, it'll break his legs. And since that's a self-inflicted injury by running with a fractured leg, you get no bone break immunity timer. You don't. You're cooked. You're basically cooked. Which will punish solo mid-tier players, mid-tier and sub-apex players that can't get clamped by the Rex. If they try to 1v1 an adult Rex and they get their legs broken and they're trying to run it off, it'll punish them for trying to attack an Apex solo. If you're going after a Rex in a group of Aloes, however, your buddies can try to body block the Rex and everything, and it'll have a cooldown on its Crushing Bite. So it won't, like, immediately be able to, Crushing Bite the next allo. And that'll give time for the other allo to walk off its fracture. Now, if it's walking it off, the fracture won't get worse, but it won't heal. As long as you're walking around with a fractured leg, it will not heal. If you're standing still, it'll heal, but very slowly. Slower than it does right now. And if you were to sit down, then it heals a bit faster, and so on and so forth if you lay down. That's essentially how it would work. But the main thing is, a lot of people wouldn't be happy about, oh, it gets rid of that bone break immunity thing, oh, it sounds OP. So I have a counter to that. What if it did give you the bone break immunity when you get bone broke by running off that fracture, but when you're running with your fractured and broken leg, you take tick damage with each step with that fractured leg, like whatever side it appears on. I think it's the, I think for something like an allo, that fracture thing appears on the right side. I could be wrong. I think it appears on the right side, like on their right hip. Every time you take a step, like when you're running with that leg, then you can hear like a splintering sound, your fracture gets a little bit worse, and you start to take tick damage. So how I'm having fracture work here is similar to bleed, but it's not exactly like bleed. I don't want it to do like little bits of tick damage like bleed does, where it slowly whittles away at your health. I don't want it to work exactly like that, because then you're just repeating mechanics. But I don't want the tick damage to be too extreme to where people are like, alright, no, that's OP. I'd say a little bit faster than the damage you take from starving, but not as fast as if you're just constantly getting bit by something. You know? I think that would be a much better alternative, and this would help Rex dealing with things that are smaller and faster than it. But considering how much and how many bleeders there are in the current roster, and it just seems like they're adding more and more. Like Styraco's all about bleed, Concavinator's all about bleed, Allo's about bleed, Suko's got a bleed build, Dino-Kairos is about bleed, Iggy does bleed, Tyranno Titan's the bleeder. It does so much bleed. And because of how bad Rex's bleed resistance is, this new fracture thing could really help it out. And it would also help out Dasp with dealing things like Allo that are just going to run back and forth and bleed it out slowly, and it's trading off its high damage with that heavy bite for its fracture. So why would we punish the Dasp for wanting to use a cool mechanic? You know, that just doesn't make much sense to me. I think fracture should be a lot more fun to use, and I think this would allow us to do that. However, I understand a lot of people would think that this makes it impossible to kill a Rex if you're not in a group. I disagree. There is one animal, one apex, that could consistently counter T-Rex players if they play well, because they don't have to move a whole lot when they are fighting. They don't have to move a whole lot when they're fighting a Rex. Eotriceratops is, was, and always should be the herbivore counterpart to T-Rex, and should be the one herbivore that consistently matches it in a fight. Now, with Eotriceratops, when you're fighting a Rex, I demonstrate in these two clips how to beat a Rex with two different builds. You can kill an Eotrike with a damage build and a block build. Excuse my voice there, I gotta... Excuse me, I need some water or something for my voice. But yeah, Eotrike is, was, and always should be the counter to T-Rex when it comes to herbivores, and it requires a T-Rex to ambush it or to play very, very well in order to kill it. because Eotriceratops in this game is balanced and sized as if it were Triceratops. It's just, called and is modeled after Eotriceratops, just for the sake of being original. But yes, it should be the one herbivore that's fighting T-Rex the most often. It should be the one that's matching it in a fight. And with how this new fracture thing works that I want to implement, Eotriceratops isn't moving around a whole lot in a fight with a Rex. It's really not, maneuvering around and running around a whole lot like a lot of other dinosaurs have to do to fight a T-Rex. Like Spino. Spino relies so much on that tail attack. Like 90% of Spino players, like their primary fire is like their freaking tail attack. Like it's insane. Tyranotitan, like you really gotta move with Tyranotitan to fight a Rex, and if you get bone broke, you're gonna get punished for it. At least with this system that I've set up. And Barsboldia. Barsboldia is a tank, so it can tank a lot of hits. And it can daze, so it doesn't have to run around too much. But there are certain points in fights where a Barsboldia would have to move quite a bit, like with that dash especially. But because of how it heals status effects pretty quickly, I don't think it would really be hurt too much by this change to the fracture mechanic. But I think it would make it less of a pain to fight a Bars. And Dinochirus would probably dies to T-Rex, as it should, as it usually would. But a good Dinochirus could beat a less skilled Rex, because let's be honest, as a Rex player, I can confirm that most Rex players are terrible. There's a select few, like me, Bibster, and a few other guys that I've played with, that are better Rex players than most of these guys. But the average Rex player is not going to be too great. So if you're a skilled Dinochirus player, you could probably beat a Rex. These Rex players get a little too trigger happy with Crushing Bite. Sometimes I fall into that, but if I'm locked in on a fight, I usually won't do that.